Imagine you're born 30,000 years ago. No schools, no resumes, no career counselor asking where you see yourself in 5 years. The tribe simply looks at you, watches what you're good at, and eventually you end up doing something for everyone else. Maybe you become a hunter, maybe a toolmaker, maybe the person who remembers every edible plant for 50 miles. None of those jobs sound particularly easy. But here's the question. What was the worst job in the entire Stone Age? The one nobody woke up excited to do. The one that was dangerous, disgusting, absolutely essential, and somehow still overlooked. Was it hunting mammoths? That sounds terrifying. Was it making stone tools all day? Maybe. Was it standing guard through freezing nights while everyone else slept? Closer. But the real answer is probably stranger than all of those. Because the hardest job in the Stone Age was cleaning up after everyone else. Not because it was unpleasant, because if you failed, people died. Let's go. The first thing most people imagine about ancient humans is that they didn't really care about hygiene. After all, they lived outside. There were no bathrooms, no soap dispensers, no plumbing. So they must have simply thrown everything on the ground and hoped for the best. Actually, that would have been one of the fastest ways to destroy a camp. Think about what happens when 20 or 30 people live together for weeks. Food scraps accumulate, animal bones pile up, human waste builds. Rotting meat attracts flies. Flies spread bacteria. Predators smell blood from incredible distances. The camp slowly becomes louder, dirtier, and much easier to find. Nature doesn't ignore garbage. Nature sends visitors. Hyenas, bears, wolves, rats, insects, everything that smells an easy meal, which means someone had to deal with it. Archaeologists have noticed something fascinating about many prehistoric campsites. Refuse wasn't scattered randomly. Waste areas often existed outside the main living spaces. Animal bones appear in separate locations. Ash from fires was dumped in particular places. Even hundreds of thousands of years ago, humans weren't simply living anywhere. They were organizing space, sleeping here, cooking there, discarding waste somewhere else. That sounds ordinary, until you realize nobody invented city sanitation yet. These weren't sanitation workers. They were hunter-gatherers. And yet, they had already discovered one of civilization's oldest secrets. Don't sleep next to your trash. Now imagine being the person responsible for that. Every day, after everyone finishes eating, you collect bones, rotting skin, animal organs, broken tools, spoiled food, anything that might attract scavengers. Then you carry it away from camp, far enough that predators investigate somewhere else, close enough that you don't waste your entire day walking. Sounds simple. Except you're carrying the smell of meat through predator territory. You're essentially announcing, fresh food this way, not exactly the safest occupation. Now think about fire. Fire transformed humanity. It gave warmth, protection, cooked food, light, but it also created ash, lots of it. At first glance, ash seems useless. Until archaeologists found something remarkable. At sites like Border Cave in South Africa, dating back roughly 200,000 years, ancient humans deliberately spread ash beneath sleeping areas. Why? Because ash discourages insects, ticks, fleas. Certain parasites avoid crossing it. Someone, long before chemistry existed, noticed a pattern. Ash meant fewer bites. Fewer bites meant better sleep. Better sleep meant healthier people. That's science. Not written science, observed science. Imagine the person constantly gathering yesterday's ashes, spreading them beneath fresh bedding, keeping parasites away. Not glamorous, incredibly valuable. Now, let's talk about something even less pleasant. Human waste. Nobody likes discussing it. Evolution didn't care. Where do 30 people go to the bathroom? Not inside camp. If they did, parasites spread rapidly. Water becomes contaminated. Disease follows. Many anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies have noticed something surprisingly consistent. Communities often maintain designated areas away from living spaces. No written rules, just shared understanding. Again, someone had to remind children. Someone had to keep camps clean. Someone had to notice when areas became unsafe. It wasn't prestige work, it was survival. Then there were the dead. This may have been the hardest responsibility of all. Death didn't stop because people loved someone. The body still changed. Very quickly. Leaving a corpse inside camp wasn't simply emotionally painful. It became biologically dangerous. Large predators smell decomposition astonishingly well. So do scavengers. Flies arrive. Disease risks increase, which meant someone had to move the body, sometimes bury it, sometimes carry it far away, sometimes protect the group while everyone mourned. Imagine doing that for people you've known your entire life. No machines, no funeral homes, only your own hands. Archaeological evidence suggests humans have intentionally cared for their dead for well over 100,000 years. That tells us something profound. Even in grief, someone still had a job to do. Now here's another candidate for the worst occupation: night watch. Movies make it seem exciting. Reality was probably exhausting. Imagine staying awake while everyone else sleeps. Listening, watching, adding wood to the fire, scanning darkness for glowing eyes. One mistake, one moment of drowsiness could cost multiple lives. Researchers studying sleep suggest ancient human groups probably shared this burden. Different people waking throughout the night, lighter sleepers naturally noticing unusual sounds. Even so, someone always ended up awake while everyone else rested. Morning hunters depended on those people succeeding, and nobody thanks the person whose only accomplishment is nothing happened. Which, ironically, is exactly what success looked like. Now consider another unpleasant job: breaking bones. Not human bones. Animal bones. Why? Because inside many large bones is marrow, an extraordinary source of fat and calories. Stone Age people often smashed bones with hammerstones after butchering animals. Messy, time-consuming, covered in blood, but nutritionally priceless. The person sitting there cracking dozens of heavy bones wasn't doing glamorous work. They were extracting some of the most calorie-dense food available. Nothing wasted, because wasting food was a luxury evolution rarely allowed. Here's something modern life makes us forget. Prestige usually follows visibility. We celebrate hunters, warriors, leaders, the people everyone notices. But every society also depends on invisible work: cleaning, maintaining, repairing, watching, preventing disasters nobody ever sees. If those people succeed, nothing dramatic happens, which makes it easy to underestimate their importance. Ancient life probably worked exactly the same way. The best sanitation wasn't memorable. It was invisible. The best night watch ended quietly. The best waste management meant predators never arrived. Success looked boring. Failure looked catastrophic. Now let's ask a different question. Why would anyone accept these jobs? Because ancient societies weren't built around personal preference. They were built around necessity. If your group needed someone to maintain the camp, someone did it. If your group needed someone to care for children while others hunted, someone stayed behind. If your group needed someone to gather firewood all day, someone carried logs instead of spears. Division of labor wasn't about status. It was about keeping everyone alive. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherers repeatedly find something interesting. People often specialize, but that specialization remains flexible. Today's hunter may become tomorrow's caregiver. Today's gatherer may help process meat after a successful hunt. The goal wasn't individual identity, it was collective survival. Which brings us to something surprisingly modern. Think about today's most essential jobs: garbage collectors, sewage workers, hospital cleaners, food safety inspectors. Most people rarely think about them until they disappear. Cities begin smelling within days. Disease spreads. Food contamination rises. Life becomes dangerous astonishingly fast. The pattern hasn't changed. Civilization still depends on people doing work most others would rather avoid. The difference is, today we usually forget they're there. Stone Age humans couldn't. Every member of the tribe watched those jobs happen every single day. They knew exactly who kept the camp livable. So, what was the hardest job in the Stone Age? Not necessarily hunting mammoths, not fighting predators, not inventing better spears. It may have been doing the quiet work that prevented disasters before anyone noticed they were coming. Carrying waste away from camp, maintaining the fire, cleaning sleeping areas, watching through the night, handling death with dignity. The jobs nobody bragged about were often the jobs everyone depended on. That's one of the oldest lessons in human history. Survival wasn't built only by heroes standing at the front of the tribe. It was built by ordinary people doing unpleasant work, day after day, so everyone else could wake up to another sunrise. The Stone Age didn't belong only to the strongest hunter. It also belonged to the person willing to do the job nobody else wanted.